I'll now call this regular meeting of council to order, and if I can ask everyone to please rise for the national anthem. I'll now ask if there are any disclosures of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof. Okay, seeing none, we don't have any presentations tonight and we don't have any public hearings. And before we go into delegations, I just wanted to explain why we are dressed the way we are tonight. Big Brothers Big Sisters every year does their annual campaign kickoff in February and into March. And in the past, we participated. They do their Bowl for Kids' Sake. They always have a theme. One year they were pirates, and Ted and his family came with me dressed up as pirates. Another year it was disco. So this year it was superheroes. So I went to one of the kickoff events in Welland at the Flatwater Center, but we just, with all our schedules, couldn't get a team together for either of the Bowl for Kids' Sake. So I had sent Barb Vanderhayden, who's the director, an email saying that I would challenge council to dress as superheroes. But then I knew that was kind of maybe asking a little bit much of council, so I kind of scaled it down to t-shirts with logos. And even that was a little tough, but we made it tonight. And then I asked council if we'd all make a donation, and if anybody else, I think we had something up on the website to support us in support of Big Brothers and Big Sisters. So, while I have everybody here, if council doesn't mind, Betty's just going to hold her shirt up. If we can gather around here real quick for a picture, and Richard, since you were gracious enough to dress, you can be part of it. And Michael, maybe I can get you to take the picture with my camera. It's very simple. So if everybody just bears with us for a second, we'll do that really quickly, and then we'll get on with the order of business. So yeah, if you'll all come around and
in the back.
okay.
So you're the shortest.
Shortest in the back.
Yeah, that should get us all in.
Okay, there you go.
There we go. Perfect.
Oh, there's a second rose.
Can we see your, want to make sure?
Hopefully not.
Look this way and leave your shirts on.
Okay, let me take a quick look. Make sure the flash, it wouldn't be my fault. Thank you. Oh, that's perfect. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, gallery. Okay. See, it always pays to have a professional photographer on staff. Okay, anyway, so we'll move on. That would be me. So we'll move on to delegations. So we have Diana and Brian here from the region tonight, and they are going to be making a presentation regarding the Niagara 2041 growth strategy. So whenever you're ready, if you don't mind coming up to the podium, and there's a little red button that once it lights up, that means the microphone's on, and then whenever you are ready.
Good evening, Mayor Jeffs and members of council and city staff. Thank you for the opportunity to appear tonight as a delegate, and I have to say this is one of the nicer town halls, so thank you very much. My name is Diana Morielli, and I'm the manager of community planning at the region of Niagara. It is my pleasure to speak with you tonight. I also wish to acknowledge our senior planner, Brian Dick, who is here with me tonight, and depending on the questions, may help me answer some of the questions you may have. The purpose of my delegation is to provide an overview of Niagara 2041 growth strategy and to respond to any questions you may have. I have a 5-minute video, and then I'm willing to answer any questions. Before I move into the video, I would like to provide some background. Regional Council, as part of its strategic planning process last year, set out a strategic plan with the intention of fostering an environment for economic prosperity. There are 6 goals of the plan. There are 4 outward-facing goals: moving people and goods, fostering an environment for investment and entrepreneurship, a labor-ready workforce, positioning Niagara globally. And the 2 inward-facing goals are doing business differently and organizational excellence. In response to this, the regional planning work programming includes 5 specific planning projects. They are the Provincial Coordinated Plan Review, the Go Hub and Station Study, 10,000 new residents by 2018, an expedited development approval process, and positioning Niagara globally. Over the past year, Regional Council has been considering a series of reports and recommendations intended to set out a new growth strategy, which we are calling Niagara 2041. As part of this, Regional Council has asked us to keep local municipalities informed. We are committed to working together with the local area municipalities and stakeholders. On that note, I ask that we proceed to the video.
Let's talk about the future of Niagara. Population growth can enhance Niagara's economic prosperity by creating jobs, helping our young people to stay in the region, and making transit more cost-effective. A key to growing our population is gaining private sector investment. This growth won't just happen all by itself, though. We need to make it happen. In order to make it happen, we need a strategy that's collaborative, innovative, and nimble. So what does Niagara's growth situation look like? Well, the province has forecasted Niagara's population growth over the next 25 years. Between 2011 and 2041, Niagara is projected to gain almost 170,000 new residents and 80,000 new jobs. But here's the problem. We're not on target to achieve those goals. While neighboring communities are growing at an average of 1 to 3% per year, Niagara's population growth rate is significantly lower, around 500 people per year. To keep pace, we should be growing by around 6,000 people per year. We need to do better. So, why are we growing so slowly? Well, let's start with a bit of geography. Niagara is part of the Greater Golden Horseshoe, which happens to be the 13th largest economic impact zone in the world. That's great news. However, Niagara is on the edge of the Greater Golden Horseshoe, and that can make us a bit isolated from Toronto, where most of the action happens. This is a clear directive for Niagara. We need to improve our physical connections to the rest of the Golden Horseshoe in order to share its growth. This means expanding transit options like GO trains in and out of Niagara, improving connections to GTA business communities, and attracting foreign investment. We need to be proactive in establishing Niagara as a receptor of this growth instead of letting other communities reap all the benefits. Tapping into the Golden Horseshoe's economic powerhouse that is Toronto can open up huge potential for economic growth in Niagara. And what would Niagara look like if we were able to access this growth? If we're able to achieve the projected growth rate targets the province has set, we could see growth that's 3 times greater than that which we've experienced over the past 25 years combined. As population growth rates rise, so do employment rates. This growth will be focused on our urban centers, provide a wide range of housing options, and make it easy to walk or take transit to meet your daily needs. This would also save our valuable agricultural land and make development more cost-effective. Oh, and it would also create jobs. We have a clear opportunity to reignite Niagara's economy through business development, new housing, and infrastructure investment. So how else can we drive growth? Within Niagara, our communities are growing at different rates. While some communities are expected to grow faster than others, and that's okay, all of our communities need to be business friendly and make private sector investment easy. This means we need to look at all of our policies, procedures, and processes to make sure that high quality development is easy. That is the only way we can compete with neighboring regions like Hamilton or the GTA. And make no mistake, we are in competition with other Ontario municipalities. When businesses are considering investing in our communities, they're looking for business-friendly development policies and a talented workforce. Those top talent individuals are looking to live in areas that provide an urban experience with access to arts, culture, medical services, recreation, and nightlife. We need to work smarter, faster, and more proactively to seize these opportunities. That means planning proactively, reducing risk, investing in infrastructure, and being customer-focused. So we know we need to improve our connections with our neighbors and become more business-friendly. But how exactly are we going to do this? Enter Niagara 2041. Niagara 2041 is the region's coordinated growth strategy, composed of a series of plans that will ensure Niagara is ready for the next 25 years. The Transportation Master Plan will look at how we currently travel in and around Niagara and how we can improve our transportation systems. It'll look at roads, transit, active transportation, airports, and goods movement. The Water and Wastewater Plan will ensure Niagara has the pipes, pumps, and facilities needed to provide critical water and sewage services to our growing region. The Municipal Comprehensive Review will look at the land we have available across Niagara to ensure we have enough to sustain our expected growth. The review will also direct where that growth happens. Through these plans, we'll be able to understand the nature of Niagara's expected growth and how it applies to our urban vision. We'll also create teams to help drive these plans forward. All this work will guide revisions to the Regional Development Charge bylaw and inform the development of the new Regional Official Plan. But we can't do this alone. We need the help of Niagara's municipalities, business communities, and not-for-profits to make this a reality. With your help, we can create a Niagara that seizes opportunities for growth, that's nimble and responsive in its business practices, and that fosters an environment of economic prosperity for future generations to come. Visit niagararegion.ca/2041 to learn more about how you can get involved.
Thank you. If you have any questions.
Okay, thank you very much for the presentation. Are there any questions from council members? Alderman Conk?
Through you, Madam Mayor. Thank you for the presentation. I'm curious, how did the province come up with a projection of, I'm looking at the PDS 34 2015 report from October. I've read it several times, and I've also had a look at the Neptus Foundation report as well. So where did the province come up with 179,000 new people and 64,000 jobs? How did they make that projection?
Through the mayor. Sorry, can you hear me? Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't have that answer as where they came up with those numbers. I do know that they were working and projecting, and every 5 years they do update the numbers. Throughout Ontario, without the exception of the City of Toronto, they haven't been achieving their targets. And so what we're doing is working with the province in order to understand, can we achieve these forecasts? And if we want to be competitive, how do we achieve them? And what's the best way to achieve them within our urban areas?
So, okay. So where, if this actually did happen, where would we put all of these people? Because we know St. Catharines is at its limits. So are we going to be driving people to the south, as the Grow South strategy kind of indicates? Understanding that Wainfleet has been kind of charged, if you will, with no growth, both from the province and the region. So where are all these people going to go?
Through the chair. In the video, you saw the mention of a municipal comprehensive review, and that is the growth strategy. And what we have done at the region so far, working with our local area municipalities, is phase 1 and phase 2 of the growth strategy. So phase 1 and phase 2 is understanding the trends of the last 5 years, as well as what our existing land budget is. And so the province allows the upper tier municipality to have a 20-year land supply. So we're trying to figure out what is our land supply, and that includes greenfield land supply as well as the potential for intensification. And what we're hearing from that's coming out of the province is that the province is reviewing their Greenbelt plan, their growth plan, as well as their Niagara Escarpment plan and Oak Ridge's marine plan. And the one thing that we're hearing is that they are going to be looking at municipalities to develop differently, develop within their existing urban areas and increase density. So we're not looking at growing out, we're looking at growing out but also growing up, being strategic about our growth, making sure that we have growth that's aligned with our corridors, so if they're transportation corridors, which are 400 series highways, GO train corridors, along rail corridors, arterial corridors, so making sure it's strategic. And we also know that growth will occur in rural areas, but we want to make sure that that growth is first dedicated towards hamlet areas and those hamlet boundaries. So we aren't at the stages where we know where that growth is going to be allocated. We're working through that right now. We will be releasing some growth options in June to the public. We'll come up with 3 growth options, and we have been working with our counterparts at the local area municipalities.
If I can continue. So in the Neptus Foundation report, it says, and I'm just making an assumption, so I just need you to clarify. They're talking about 107,100 hectares set aside to accommodate the forecast, and this is I'm assuming this is not all going to be in the Niagara region, it's going to be in the outer ring, that 107,000?
Through the chair, I don't have the report in front of me, so I can't recall if that, the hectares, if that was for just the region of Niagara or if it was outside the Greater Golden Horseshoe.
If I may, through the chair, I don't have the report in front of me as well, but what I can think of from that 107,000 hectares is probably indicating the greenfield supply in the 905 municipalities, as well as what's considered the white belt supply.
Yeah.
So that's where they anticipate in York region, Peel region, I guess Halton region, where growth would expand. It's already been sort of predetermined. So I think that's where that figure came from.
So it also goes on to say that they're projecting or have adopted in their research 50 persons and jobs per hectare. That's kind of scary.
That's already a policy that was established in the 2006 growth plan, and that's what's expected or anticipated growth for greenfield land supply. Here at the region, we haven't been able to really achieve that as of yet, but that is a target that is encouraged by the province, and that they expect us to meet it or work towards meeting it.
Well, as I said, I find that a little scary, and so you're working towards that goal for 2041.
Well, right now, in all the urban official plans across the region, so looking at Welland or Niagara Falls or Grimsby, in a greenfield site, the municipality is, well, I guess the word would be, the policy framework is put into place to encourage the municipality to hit that target. Mind you, it's a target we'll work towards, and over time we'll probably revisit those targets, but that is what's coming from the growth plan, and we anticipate potentially through the revisions to the growth plan that are coming that those targets actually may be higher in the future.
Again, kind of scary. The report also says that 40% of all new residential development occurring annually must be located within existing built-up areas. So you are talking like taking St. Catharines out of the picture, you're talking all the other municipalities with the exception of Wainfleet.
Sorry. If I may, all municipalities have an intensification. Across the region, there already is a 40% intensification target, and it's a balanced, and across the region for different municipalities, Wainfleet excluded, it's at different weightings. So Niagara, City of St. Catharines is a 95% intensification rate, City of Welland's 40%, but a town of Fort Erie is 15%. So it's sort of sensitive to the local context. But across the city of St. Catharines, where density can be, it's easier to achieve, that would be the intensification target. And in fact, across the region as a whole, we're actually higher than 40% right now.
So is there any incentives for municipalities to achieve or go beyond those goals by the region?
Through the chair, sorry, through the Madam Mayor. There is no real direct incentives, but obviously if you were able to achieve that target and if not higher, you are maximizing your infrastructure, as well as if you provide a transit system, it becomes more affordable to operate. It becomes more cost efficient to operate it because now you have the densities or the transit supported densities to allow that transit system to operate more efficiently.
Good questions. Any other questions from council members? I just had a quick question, and I'm not sure if you can answer it or how I'm going to frame it necessarily, but I saw you had mentioned like a review and inventory of available land. And so I think sometimes that the province is sending mixed messages, let's say. So they have us working on things like this, but at the same time, they're supposedly, I'm going to bring something out that gets some people upset, supposedly directing the Conservation Authority to look at biodiversity offsetting. So, and I've had constituents, some of which are sitting in the gallery right now, make really, really good points about utilizing available land. Like we have lots of vacant areas, in Port Colborne, or not in Port Colborne necessarily, but definitely in Welland and I think in Thorold. So the MPCA is saying it's for development purposes that they're looking at doing this from the direction of the province. But yet, we already have existing land. So I guess I'm saying that I think it's great that you're doing a review of available land, but I'm just wondering, do you work with the Conservation Authority on this? Is there any kind of crossover? And
Through you, Madam Chair. We do work with the Conservation Authority, and when we go through our land budget, one of the things that we do is we discount highway corridors, a 30-meter setback from the highway corridors. We discount environmental conservation areas, environmental protection areas from that land supply in order to understand, it's the term they like to use, quantum, what that end supply is for the region in order to determine whether we have a 20-year land supply. Do we need to ask for more land or do we have enough for the 20 years? Because the provincial legislation is pretty clear that you can only have a 20-year land supply. They have given us other tools to plan post 20 years, but we're still working with the province to understand if we look past 20 years, what does that effectively do to those people that are outside that 20-year land supply? Do we effectively sterilize them? Are they in a holding pattern? What does that mean? So those are things that we're working on.
okay, thank you. So any other questions from council? Alderman Gilmer?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you. Just curious, one of the comments was that this is designed to protect agricultural land. And I'm wondering how all this growth and the protection of agricultural land fit into the same sentence.
Through the chair. We're not looking to really redefine what the Greenbelt plan is. We recognize that there were some inconsistencies with the Greenbelt plan when they arbitrarily defined what that border was. There's some rounding out of the mapping that we would like to fix in certain municipalities. Sometimes you'll see the Greenbelt go through a property divided through half, and half of it's in the Greenbelt, half of it's in the urban boundary. So we're trying to correct those areas. But in the areas where they're designated urban or are considered white belt, where they're not impacted by NEC lands or impacted by Greenbelt, we're trying to determine, what's the best use of that land? Is it to, keep it for agricultural, real uses to support those communities, or is there potential for it to be an urban area? We're also looking to, like as Brian mentioned, one of our biggest asks here at the region is the GO train. In order to have the GO train to come to Niagara, we need to have densities around those transit stations that are supportive of that. So that's not your typical development. It's not single-family townhomes. You're looking at higher densities. Some condominiums, in Grimsby, they're seeing 6 to 13 stories now being developed along the lake. St. Catharines, they're really looking at different types of, there's a lot of brownfield downtown redevelopment opportunities there where they can start seeing increased densities to support GO Train. Same thing with Niagara Falls downtown. There is a lot of opportunity for that area to redevelop and support those densities. So that's where we're trying to locate the growth within our urban framework, which have capacity within the infrastructure system that's in place.
Okay. Any further questions from council? Okay, seeing none, thank you so much for the presentation. I appreciate you making the trek out to Wainfleet. And so we'll move into, I don't know if there's any business arising from delegations, but I will take a motion to receive the presentation. So if I can get someone to move that, moved by Alderman Dykstra, seconded by Alderman Gilmore. All those in favor, that's carried. And if nobody has anything else, then we'll move into my mayor's remarks really quickly. So we'll start out with the big event of the last few months, and I will formally introduce our new CAO, Michael Smith, all the way here from Thunder Bay. And so officially welcome him on board. He started last Monday, March 21st, and we just threw you right in. You came to some events with us, and we're really, really glad to have you here. And I know you bring a wealth of experience and talent with you, so we're looking forward to putting that to good use for the township, and really happy to have you here. So I don't know if you want to say, I didn't want to put you on the spot. I didn't mention that this morning in our...
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to thank Town Council and the Mayor. I'm very much looking forward to working with the staff, getting to know the community, getting to know the residents, and certainly looking forward to moving the township forward further with some economic development, some strategic planning. Just in the short time that I have been here, wonderful staff to work with, so I'm very excited and very happy to be here, so thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, so more mayor's remarks. It's not over yet. So I was a part of the Southern Tier Mayor's Luncheon on the 22nd of March, and both Michael was here, Michael attended, Robin attended, and Alderman Conk was there as well. And I think it was a big success. I don't know if my jokes were as funny as last time. It was a bit of a tough crowd, but I made it through. Bob Gale says he's been asked about 5 times about his cat since I did that, so I thought that was funny. And people seem to really enjoy the change in format. We had more of an informal discussion, and we spoke about some big issues, one being the hospital, so it seemed to be a big hit with people, so I would imagine that the Chamber of Commerce will move forward with that sort of a format in the future, because people really seemed to like it, and we enjoyed it. It was more of a conversation. And then that evening, last Tuesday, we completed our budget at 2.92%, including the 1% infrastructure levy. So I think that was a good move, and I haven't had any feedback, so I say no news is good news. So we'll see. We didn't have any comments on the Facebook page or anything, so I'll take that as, I hope people are relatively okay with it, but now that I've said that live streaming, I'm sure if people aren't, I will get some emails, and I welcome that. Tomorrow night, I will be attending a floodplain committee meeting at Balls Falls starting at 5:30. So they're open to the public if anybody's interested. I think it's just the consultant coming back again and talking about how we're going to do the next round of public houses for the technical, so where they're advising us on the technical piece, so I can report back to you on how that's going to roll out. I think the meetings will be in April and May, but everybody's more than welcome to attend. I don't think that's being live streamed, but their board meetings are being live streamed now. Thursday night, Alderman Conk and I will be attending the Port Colborne-Wainfleet Chamber of Commerce President's Award Dinner at the Italian Hall. So there are a few Wainfleet nominees this year, so we're excited about that, because I don't think we had any last year. Was there anybody from Wainfleet? Oh, there were last year? Oh, I thought we were low on. Okay, but we do have quite a few people nominated this year, so really excited to see that. We'll keep our fingers crossed. On April 7th, I will be attending the Pork Care Soup Fest. I've never been to it before, and so I sent everybody an email, and I encourage everybody to attend. I think it's like from 11 till 1 or 10:30 till 1, so if everybody wants to join me for that, it's always, Pork Cares is a great cause. We love to support Pork Cares. Our next regional council meeting is April 7th, And a few of us will be attending the State of the Region at the Scotia Centre on April 12th. So Chair Caslin will be delivering the State of the Region, so that should be exciting. And then I will be attending a rural municipal drainage course on April 13th. Alderman Hessels, are you attending that as well? Okay, so we'll be attending that. So that I like to think I'm quite versed in drainage after all these years, but I'm sure I'm nowhere near what I think I am. So this will be good for me to gather more information. And we have the murder mystery dinner to celebrate the 50th anniversary of our public library, which is being held April 16th at the Port Colborne Brethren in Christchurch. And Shelley Dressel has been kind of leading the charge on this. Shelley, that lady can fundraise anything. She's amazing. So I saw her the other day and she said there were only 6 tickets left. So I think that's pretty amazing considering it's like 3 weeks away. So I just wanted to kind of announce that if anybody's interested. The tickets are almost gone. So really impressed with the way they've run that, and I look forward to a few of us are going, and I guess Betty's going to be serving us, so that's going to be fun. We'll leave you a big fat tip when we're done. And our next council meeting is April 19th. So that's it for the mayor's remarks, and now we'll move on to adoption of the minutes.
The minutes of the regular meeting of council held on March 8th, 2016, and the minutes of the special budget meeting of council held on March 22nd, 2016 be adopted as circulated.
So I need a mover and a seconder for the minutes. Alderman
Good morning,
Dykstra.
ladies and gentlemen.
And
Call this meeting to order.
I don't know.
All councillors, please turn off electronic devices to suck.
That was Public Works Committee this morning.
I'd like to thank Bert for participating in our meeting tonight. Okay, it's the weirdest thing. Where was I with it? So moved by Alderman Dykstra, seconded by Alderman Conk. Any discrepancies, errors, omissions? Okay, seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor? And that's carried. Was that Robin's computer? So she was watching the live stream this morning.
I think I actually didn't turn
Okay.
YouTube off fully. Just
Okay. No. Oh, okay. From the, yeah. Okay, it makes sense now. That's funny. Okay, so now we will move into staff reports.
The Planning Staff Report 6 of 2016 regarding Bill 73, Smart Growth for Our Communities Act, Planning Act changes, and the recommendations contained therein be adopted as circulated.
Mover and a seconder, Alderman Gilmore, Alderman Hessels, and Michael, you had a bit of a presentation to run through with this report?
Yes, with your permission, if I can hand it to the council.
Sure.
I recognize this is a very complicated situation. It's challenging for me to understand, so I've taken the liberty of producing a report for council to help summarize it a little bit better. And, so if you can follow me on the PowerPoint, that would be helpful. That's for your reference, and you're welcome to ask questions over that. Your worship, and to all of council, Bill 73 right now is proposed. It's changes to the Planning Act and to the Development Charges Act. And if I can take you through the first slide, the introduction, as I said, Planning Act, which deals with land use planning in Ontario, and Development Charges Act. They're together in Bill 73. So the Planning Act, the Venn diagram I have, the circle with all the circles together, the Planning Act deals with several different topics. Types of development, official plans, notice requirements, creates and gives authority to the Committee of Adjustment, and it sets out what happens if a party has an appeal to a decision. Those are just some of the highlights of what the Planning Act does. So what has changed? And that's on this arrow I produced. In the fall of 2015, Bill 73 was proposed. In December 2015, it was entitled the Smart Growth for Our Communities Act. Development charges portion is approved. We're going to be awaiting a development charges background study later on this year. That'll help us to understand better what is involved. The Planning Act portion, I would note, is waiting for approval. So implementation level, we're waiting for regulations. Normally, the province, once it passes a bill, it goes into law, it's automatically in force and effect. In this case, it's not. That's not happening. There's regulations regarding notices, etc., that are waiting for the province to respond. So my answer, or my advice to council at the end, Wainfleet, stay tuned for how it affects legally. So key changes, and if you can take it, the top is the least, is a practical level at staff level. At the bottom three, the ones that are highlighted, are the ones I'd like to focus in on a little bit. And these are just high level ones. This is for council's information. There's no action needed out of this. This is to say that, that there will be changes coming, and I will report more on them as they come through. Public engagements and notices are requiring more of an explanation. How do public comments affect the matter, if at all? Parkland cash in lieu, we can discuss that later on. We're in fine shape there. Official plan reviews. I may have mentioned to council or to some members of council that currently there's a 5-year review cycle on official plans, and that's proposed to go to 10 years after a new official plan has happened, and then 5 years after that. So 10 plus 5 onwards that way. There's also some discussion about amendments, being official plans, zoning amendments, including minor variances and consents. There may be a 2-year freeze after a new official plan is approved. I'll get into more discussion on later. And one thing which I'll report on further is minor variance tests. The province right now has set in 4 tests for minor variances, which council may not be aware of, but that's something that the Committee of Adjustment deals with every time they have a minor variance. The province is allowing municipalities to set their own additional tests. So that may assist us. I have to look into that further, but it may allow the township to give more specifics on the lakeshore, for example, where aesthetics and view sheds are an issue there. So how does this affect Wainfleet? Our current practice is an application is received, the mayor hosts a public meeting, and planning staff provide this as a complete application. Then it goes to approval. And approval is the second point of contact with the public. My department presents a staff report, and there's committee or council approval required of that. So during the 2-year freeze, and I'll get into it in a bit more discussion here in a moment, but we go to an extra level, a pre-level, if you want to call it that. A staff report would be required. Let me rephrase my thoughts here. During the 2-year freeze, council approval is required in advance of accepting an application. So if there's for example, a severance of a surplus farm dwelling, then that would require council approval, because it's a rezoning application. It would require council approval, a resolution from the council saying that it is okay in principle. They would support it in principle, not to support the details, but to say, yes, we're okay with that. This is on any privately initiated development application. So township housekeeping bylaw, anything the township starts up this would not apply to it. But anything coming from the private sector would require a resolution from council in advance saying, yes, we're supportive in principle. That would then go to an application, which would take you back to a regular practice. So second point of contact, public meeting, third point being staff report and approval. This is based on some legal advice we've received so far. That's where it's, this is the interpretation so far. And then the arrow in the center, so after 2-year freeze, it switches back to the current practice. Now the challenge is for Wainfleet, when does the clock start? October 2014 is the date in which our new official plan was approved in principle, or most of it was approved. So technically, if you take a 2-year timeline, it would be October of 2016, being approximately 6 months plus or minus from now. So that practice would be in place for 6 months, and then we would revert back to our current practice. I have yet to confirm legally where we stand on that. We would wait for the province to also provide regulations. So right now, that's what I understand. It's not confirmed. It's not a fact yet. That's what I provided in terms of my. That's the summary of my presentation. But the bottom line for Wainfleet is we would have there's more information that has to go into notices of any type of planning application. And the key thing would be if they come through as, if the province puts these regulations in place as they've shown, it would require an extra level of reporting for a certain time. Those are the key aspects. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the presentation. Are there any questions from council regarding the presentation or the report? Alderman Conk?
Through you, Madam Mayor. Michael, I'm hoping you can clarify just a few points for me. Under your graph on the first page, official plan, public engagement methods, you've got under description how public was contacted. Does the province actually want to know how staff went about engaging the public? Do they actually want you to send them something?
Your Worship, through Alderman Conk, it's questionable right now. What they're talking about is the traditional methods of public consultation have been putting an advertisement in the newspaper, posting something on the website. Social media was not part of that. So now and emails were not part of that. So the direction I've seen from reading the legislation is they're recognizing social media and emails as a source.
And on the second page, we've got new accounting requirements, and under description, you've got for development agreements. Are you talking development charges or actual agreements, and do we have any of these, and are there dollars attached to those?
Your Worship, through Alderman Conk, the answer would be no. In hindsight, that was probably not a necessary bullet to provide there. It's talking about parkland cash in lieu contributions for parkland, and there's a new accounting method. It's mainly meant, like the region was talking about, for density. For urban areas where density is involved, there's a simpler, right now it's based upon the dollar amount of the lands the day before they're transformed into a plan of subdivision, et cetera, or development. In this case, I don't really think that applies to us. And in terms of I'll talk to the treasurer further as this comes along to see if it does affect us in different ways.
Okay, any other questions from council members? Okay, seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor? And that's carried.
An administrative staff report number 9 of 2016 regarding the Municipal Act 2015 remuneration reporting and the recommendations contained therein be adopted as circulated.
Oops. I need a mover and a seconder for this report, Alderman Conk and Alderman Gilmore. Are there any questions or comments for Robin? Okay, seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor? And that's carried.
Building staff report 3 of 2016 regarding the building permit report February 2016 and the recommendations contained therein be adopted as circulated.
Mover and a seconder. Alderman Hessels, Alderman Conk. Any questions? I know John's not here, but I think it's pretty straightforward. Okay, seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor? That's carried.
Public Works Staff Report 5 of 2016 regarding the Canada 150 project and arena addition and the recommendations contained therein be adopted as circulated.
Mover and a seconder, Alderman Dykstra, Alderman Gilmore. Any discussion or questions on this? Alderman Conk.
Through you, Madam Mayor, just a quick question with regards to kind of looking forward into the future a little bit. Once the work starts on the arena, that's going to impact Safety Day, right?
Through your worship to Alderman Conk. Safety Day, we planned on, from my understanding, is we're going to do it in the same way we did last year. We're going to utilize the Public Works building. And if not, we'll try to use the arena. And the arena pad itself, we'll try and ensure that we make sure because we're going to have to work around the Safety Day, we're going to have to work around Firemen's Convention, we're going to have to work around everybody this year. And that's part of the problem with trying to get all this organized and the reason why we came for this report.
I believe that at the committee level, they were thinking of using the arena. However, we were all in agreement that the venue that we used last year was better. So I will, on Monday when I go to the meeting, I will suggest that we perhaps use that venue so you don't have to worry about it.
Through your worship to Alderman Conk, that would be wonderful if you could manage that. But if not, if they just let me know the dates and we'll fit it into the construction schedules like we're going to have to do with other projects.
I think that was good last year, having it over here. People seem to enjoy that. Other questions or comments regarding the report? Okay, seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That's carried. And now we'll go into correspondence.
The report of the correspondence to council dated March 29th, 2016, and the recommendations contained therein be adopted as circulated.
So I need a mover and a seconder, Alderman Dykstra and Alderman Gilmore. So there are quite a few that were referred back to council, so if you don't mind, I'm just going to start firing through them, and then when we're done, if there's anything else anybody wants to acknowledge, then by all means. So the first one, 103, I guess was asking us about nominating somebody or maybe putting it on the website. Alderman Conk, you usually like these ones. Did you want to make a motion, maybe like amend it to advertise on our website? Is that's a possibility? Facebook? Okay, so can I get a seconder for that? Alderman Dykstra. So I will call the question. All those in favor? That's carried. Then we have 3 from the region, but I guess we have to deal with them. Could we move them all 3 together, amend, or do we have to amend them each separately? So there's 106, 108, and there was 112. They were all supported at the region. So I would suggest, if everybody's okay with it, because they're asking for municipal support. So if everybody was all right with it, we could amend all 3 and support and then move on. But I don't know, perhaps some people have some questions or don't like those. They were they really were non-issues at the region when they came through committee. So I don't know if everybody's okay with that. So Alderman Gilmore, you're nodding to make a motion to support. Do I get a seconder for that, for those 3? Okay, so then I will, Alderman Dykstra, sorry. I'll call the question. All those in favor? And that's carried. Okay, so then we move on to 122, which is William E. Brown School wanting to use the fire hall for the graduation. And we do this every year, so I can't see any year being different. Alderman Dykstra, you're moving to support the request. So seconder, Alderman Gilmore. All those in favor? That's carried. And 123. So they are looking for us. They had a list of things they would like us to do. I don't think we've ever done this before. We could receive it, or we could go with advertising. It's up to you guys. And again, we did have a discussion about having a policy, so we are going to work on that, but we're just going to have to muddle through with these requests until we have that laid out. Alderman Dykstra, receive it? Okay, so Alderman Dykstra is moving to receive it. Can I get a seconder for that? Alderman Gilmore, all those in favor? That's carried. We're almost there. 133. So they're just asking us to support them commending the Huron Public Health Unit. So, and I know just while we're on this, I did have a really brief conversation with Dr. Yeager, and they've reached out to all the public health units, and I know they're going to be following it, and I can't remember exactly what she had said, but she's already been, contacted about this and stuff. So that was a good thing. So I guess they're going to kind of be working together to source out how they're going to document all this. So if we are okay to support that, then I need a mover and a seconder for that. Moved by Alderman Conk, seconded by Alderman Dykstra. All those in favor? That's carried. We're almost there, folks. Then we have 138. So that's asking, I don't know if anybody's interested in that. I don't know where our council budget is in terms of courses and conferences and that for this year, so I don't know if we just want to receive this or if there is anybody who has any interest in attending this. Okay, so mover to receive, perhaps. Alderman Conk is moving to receive. Can I get a seconder? Alderman Dykstra. All those in favor? That's carried. We just have one more. 144. So the Welland River floodplain And we have done this before, where we've let them use the community hall for their, okay. So moved by Alderman Dykstra to support their request, seconded by Alderman Gilmore. All those in favor? That's carried. That's the fastest I've ever done this before. Alderman Dykstra.
Through you, Madam Mayor, there is one correspondence item that's not, is received for information that I was kind of I don't know whether council wanted to discuss, or I don't know, it's item number 134 from a resident.
Okay.
Providing a letter expressing concerns of lack of support. I don't know what the merit of this is, or what's driving this lack of support as to.
Well, I think it was just questioning the discussion that we had regarding renewing the lease for Marshville, and I think that there might have been some people in the community who thought, I know I've heard people say that it's a well-run organization, well-oiled machine, and why would we be kind of challenging? I think that's the perception, that we're challenging certain things with them, and just to kind of leave things be. It's been working this many years. So I think that's where this letter was coming from, that there was some disappointment that we'd be wanting to kind of open anything up.
So just to be clear on that, and I wondered if that's what it was in regards to the lease. There was no time constraints or any further tough. I think the township went fairly easy on Marshville. The only thing we had asked for was some sort of contingency or legacy fund. So I don't understand how we were not supporting Marshville.
I guess that'd be something to reach out to the resident and ask. I know that, I know it's been said that I don't understand it completely, but that we're really not, I don't think we can really ask for this. Like, that's been repeated, quite a few times. Now, they are working on something like that, and they are gonna respond to the letter that we sent them, but at the end of the day, I don't think we can demand something like that from that organization, or with any organization, really. So that's kind of the repeating theme that I keep hearing back from people. So I think that there's a notion out there that we're, I guess, giving them a hard time. And so I certainly don't want to do that. And I mean, I think that I think Alderman Gilmore had kind of had a brief discussion with them, and they are going to, respond to the letter. But yeah, I think that that's kind of been the thinking that.
So in light of those comments that you made, just to touch on that, yes, I'm looking forward to hearing their response back to the letter. And in fact, with you saying that you've heard that we're giving them a hard time, so to speak, and people are thinking that we shouldn't be doing a legacy fund or some sort of continuization, I've also heard from residents from the other side that are asking for it and saying, what's going to happen? There's people that are getting older there, and people that are looking after that. There's residents in this community that are concerned that we're going to end up footing the bill for them down the road. So this is all that I think we've asked for, is that the legacy will see the things continue, and that we will be able to maintain those buildings, and God forbid not be able to do a budget and not stay around the cost of living.
I think that this is what concerns me, is that we're already getting it. There are people who question certain things, and then there are other people who think, no, it's not a necessary exercise, and that's exactly what I want to avoid, is it turning into anything that is, negative toward their organization. So, so far they have, when we sat and met with them, they were great about the whole thing, and I think they're open to, anybody calling them up and asking them questions, and maybe, it would be nice to have them come in, and we could have a kind of a more public discussion, I guess you could say, with them. But this is exactly what I'm concerned about, is that, some people think that this should be happening, or some people think that that should be happening, and I don't want to get into any of that, because they do, at the end of the day, they do draw, thousands and thousands of people. Whenever you mention Wainfleet, it's always Marshville. That's the first thing, that Marshville Heritage Festival and Marshville Chocolates, and then the beach, and then farming, and then all the other stuff, falls behind it. And they really do run efficiently. They don't ask, you know, for really, they do their own thing and they do it really, really well. So I think we need to iron out some things for sure, but I think we need to do it in a, like, I just don't see anything negative about it, and that's what I'm afraid is happening. I think they're more than willing to give us information and talk to us, and I don't think it needs to get into anything, you know, more than that, so.
My intention was never to give Marshville a hard time, just.
Right, yeah, no, and I mean,
I want to work with Marshville, so I don't.
And I'm paraphrasing a bit,
didn't
but.
sit right with me,
Yeah.
that's all.
No, and like I say, I'm paraphrasing a little bit, and that's exactly it. We don't want to give that impression at all, so we want to work well with them and with the Fair Board and with all the other community groups, so we'll wait to hear from them, and then hopefully we'll seal the deal and then move on. Okay, so anybody else have any other correspondence that they wish to raise? Okay, seeing none, so I will call the question on the correspondence as amended. All those in favor, and that's carried. So now we can go on to bylaws.
The following bylaw be now read a first and second time this 29th day of March 2016. Bylaw number 17, 2016, being a bylaw to appoint a chief administrative officer and deputy clerk pursuant to section 11, section 229, and section 228, subsection 2 of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended.
Okay, I need a mover and a seconder for this, Alderman Conk and Alderman Gilmore. I don't think anybody has an issue with this, so I will call the question. All those in favor, that's carried. And then also, if council's okay with it, if we could get a motion to waive the procedural bylaw to have this read a third time tonight. So is that, okay, Alderman Gilmore, and seconded by Alderman Hessel. So this is to waive the procedural bylaw to read this a third time. So I will call the question. All those in favor? That's carried. And then now we'll do the third readings.
The following bylaws be now read a third time and finally passed this 29th day of March 2016. Bylaw number 11 of 2016 being a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute an agreement between the Township of Wainfleet Employees Association and the Corporation of the Township of Wainfleet. Bylaw number 12 of 2016 being a bylaw to establish pay schedules for the year 2016 for members of council of the Township of Wainfleet. Bylaw number 13 of 2016 being a bylaw to establish pay schedules for 2016, 2017, and 2018. And bylaw number 14 of 2016 being a bylaw to provide for the licensing, control, and regulation of dogs, and to repeal bylaw number 28 of 2007. And bylaw number 17 of 2016 being a bylaw to appoint a chief administrative officer and deputy clerk pursuant to section 11, section 229, and section 228, subsection 2 of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended.
Okay, a mover and a seconder, Alderman Gilmore, Alderman Dykstra. Any discussion on the bylaws? Seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor? That's carried. Any notices of motion tonight? Nope, nobody's got anything cooking. We do have a proclamation, and you're going to read it. Awesome.
Whereas World Autism Awareness Day will be recognized on April 2nd, 2016 in Canada, thanks to Liberal Senator Jim Munson's Bill S-206, an act respecting World Autism Awareness Day. And whereas autism spectrum disorder affects more than 100,000 Ontarians, autism spectrum disorder is now recognized as the most common neurological disorder affecting 1 in every 94 children, as well as their friends, family, and community. And whereas ASD is a spectrum disorder, which means it not only manifests itself differently in every individual in whom it appears, but its characteristics will change over the life of each individual as well. A child with ASD will become an adult with ASD. And whereas Autism Ontario, formerly Autism Society Ontario, is the leading source of information and referral on autism and one of the largest collective voices representing the autism community. Since 1973, Autism Ontario has been providing support, information, and opportunities for thousands of families across the province. And whereas Autism Ontario is dedicated to increasing public awareness about autism and the day-to-day issues faced by individuals with autism, their families, and the professionals with whom they interact. The association and its chapters share common goals of providing information and education, supporting research, and advocating for programs and services for the autism community. Now, therefore, the Township of Wainfleet does hereby declare April 2nd as World Autism Awareness Day.
Okay, I need a mover and a seconder, Alderman Conk and Alderman Dykstra, and I'll call the question. All those in favor, and that's carried. Other business. Does anybody have any other business? Alderman Conk. Don't even have to put your hand up.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I'm just wondering, with the issue we have out on Beach Road, if we should be asking for maybe a staff report and even Mr. Hull to come in from the ministry to explain to council what the issue is out there with regards to the septics running underneath that private road. Is that a good idea at this point? Because, and I'm saying this because the resident that you and I have spoken to on several occasions is not understanding that their ask isn't something the township can do.
So so for council, like it's the issue with their private road and access, and then like Alderman Conk mentioned, there's septics under the road, and but it's all at this point it's all private. So to do a report on it, you're thinking to have John do it, or to have Richard do it, or to just have someone come?
I don't know.
Okay.
It's a convoluted issue.
Yeah, maybe it's something I know you've told Richard a bit about it, and what about, does John, John Borma, you've had some?
He's aware. So.
Oh, Michael, would you like to comment on this?
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, if I can, just to provide some background on this. I believe this all started when one of the property owners along Beach Road West, which is a private road, approached the township to request the replacement of a detached garage. And because of that replacement, that triggered the need for a minor variance, which the owner of the road pursued then to do a ripple, I'll call it a ripple effect. They decided they wanted to sell off the road, sever the road into several pieces and potentially sell it off to the adjacent residents. So for those that are aware of Beach Road West, the road splits their properties in half. So they have a portion of the land on the waterfront and a smaller portion separated from their property. The little I know of the building code, I do know that when a septic system is on another property or separated from the main property, it falls under provincial jurisdiction, not the townships. That's what I've learned from John. In this case, I've heard from 3 or 4 residents of that road. Who were very upset about matters. I've talked to the agent, the lawyer acting for the property owner wanting to do this development, and I understand that they are changing their perspective. They're changing what they're not asking. They're not offering to sell the road anymore. They've taken that off the table, is what I have learned. I haven't had it confirmed by anybody, but I know the phone calls have stopped. This thing. So as far as I know, there was a misunderstanding, and I'll leave it to that. That's the lawyer's language to me. Misunderstanding about some communications that occurred. It is already leading back to a minor variance request for the replacement of a detached garage. Thank you.
Okay, so I think maybe it's even best to ask to bring we're not going to get into it tonight, get into the whole history of it, but maybe bring the CAO up to speed, and then maybe you can make a recommendation as to how we, so your goal is to kind of inform those residents of kind of where we stand and what we can do, if we can do anything. Is that kind of?
Well, they're going to continue to ask the township to take over the road. Okay. And through conversations with the public works manager, that's not feasible.
Okay.
So I'm going to need to understand why.
Okay. So yeah, so we can bring you up to speed and then move forward with some sort of a report. Okay. Did you have any other business?
No.
Okay. Did anybody else have any other business? Alderman Hessels.
Yeah. It's more to do with fire service or whatever. With that master plan, we have that committee in place there, and I think going forward, I know it's not a big hurry, but I kind of like to have them guys have a mandate, because we weren't sure if we're going to 3 halls or 4 halls and where they should be located in that. I'm wondering if we can give them a mandate to pursue different options and come back to us with different proposals or whatever, and even with the new halls too, if we can have this committee come back to us with what they're thinking, because we put them in place, and I think them to feel like they're important, it would be great.
So you're talking the Fire Master Plan Implementation Committee.
Well, yeah, that committee that we had.
So you want them to make recommendations on, I thought they already had. I thought that was the meeting that we had.
Yeah, but we're not sure if we're going to 3 halls or 4 halls. That was another thing I want them to come look at, because we need to go to the public about this too, and locations. So I don't know if we can have them.
I'm gonna get Alderman Dykstra to comment since he's on that committee, but it's my understanding that they've come to the conclusion to do the 2 to start, and then they were gonna work on the other issues that you're talking about. But I will, because Alderman Dykstra toughs it out at each of those committee meetings, so I'll let him comment.
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor, and possibly to help Alderman Hessel understand, the Fire Implementation Committee has what we thought addressed the fire hall issue, and we put it on staff at this point. Members of the committee do want to stay involved at a later date when staff comes back and has some possible input as far as securing contractors and bidding, and also because we have some knowledgeable people on there. But as a committee, we've also agreed that there's a number of other things on that, because we are an implementation committee that's supposed to be implementing the master plan that was put before us. We need to move beyond, the committee needs to move beyond the fire hall issue now that we put it on staff. We have to address some of the other stuff on there, so we can't spend all of our meeting time on this fire hall issue, because it's become a one-issue thing for this committee. So I would suggest that maybe, I don't know whether we want a separate meeting, if that's what Alderman Hessel is asking for. I don't think in our report was only addressing 2 fire halls. We never meant that we were going to close the other 2. We were just addressing the 2 that needed the most at this point to get us to the next phase. We never really, so I don't know whether that helps at all, or if you want to send correspondence to them, or if you want me to ask the question, where we want to go with this. But the fire hall issue is really slowing us down as far as implementing all the other issues. So I don't know if staff has, it'd be great if staff has some other ideas, because it's bogging us down.
Great, thank you. Through you, Madam Mayor, I've had an opportunity to talk to the fire chief, and there was actually a draft report that was going to be on tonight's agenda for the 2 fire halls. I, in discussion with the fire chief, did not put it on tonight's agenda just to give me the opportunity to refresh myself with the fire master plan. So council will see a report at the next meeting related to the 2 fire halls. Subsequently, I've also asked the chief to put together a meeting with the Fire Master Plan Implementation Committee. I would attend the next meeting because I'd like to also meet those folks, and then we'll discuss exactly some of the things we're talking about and how we can start to move some of the recommendations of the master plan forward.
Okay, thank you. So does that kind of answer your question for now?
Okay, and I don't know if anybody's interested, but the Lions Club's got their Monte Carlo tomorrow night. So if anybody's interested to go, I probably still can get a couple tickets. So it's a pretty good time.
So you're saying you're not coming to the floodplain meeting then? Great.
No, I went for you last time.
And you mentioned Monte Carlo, and I forgot to mention the Pork Producers, which is April 8th, I think. It's a Friday night, I believe, and I'm not even sure where it is, but it is always awesome. So I'm assuming you're going, because your wife was giving me my tickets.
I think it's in Smithville.
In Smithville at the high school?
I think so.
I think it goes back and forth between that and Wellandport.
Yeah, they usually roast you a little bit.
They didn't last year.
No, it's not as bad.
No, I'm bringing my kids too, so. But yeah, they usually do, they roast. The one year they gave me a hard time, Joyner, Hudak was there. Have they done? Yeah, and Bill Hodgson was mayor at the time, so yeah. So it's always fun. So I believe that's April 8th, which is a Friday. Okay, any other business? All right, seeing none, then I will need a motion to move into closed session to meet for 3 reasons. One, an item under section 23292C of the Municipal Act regarding a potential acquisition or disposition of land, Harborview Road. Item under section 2392B of the Municipal Act, personal matters about an identifiable individual, confidential staff report regarding public committee appointments, and also the adoption of the minutes of the in-camera meeting for February 16th. So if I can get a mover and a seconder for that, Alderman Gilmore, Alderman Dykstra, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That's carried. So I don't know how long we'll be. We will be back. So if members of the gallery would like to wait, they are more than welcome to. We'll try and be quick.